This is a Sound Legacy production.
Hello and welcome to the Sound Legacy podcast. If it's your first time here, I'm Andrew, and Sound Legacy is a storytelling agency based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And this podcast, this little show that we're doing, there are three things that I want to do. One, I want to meet my elders. Two, I want to hear great stories from interesting people. And three, I want to celebrate people who do good in the world. And my guest today is doing two out of three of those things. Clearly not my elder, Lauren Ramzinsky. I'm very glad to have you here. Thank you. You've come all the way from Texas. So you win the award for the guest who's traveled the furthest to be here. I've gotten to know you over the past year. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to our mutual friend, Ernie Hubbard. Maybe we should flash his stuff on the screen. Sweet Ernie. Lauren is, I'm still doing the intro. I know this is weird. How's this intro going? You think it's going okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very generous. That's why she's here. Lauren is a few things. She is a healer, a woman who knows about the human body, about her own body, is informed by experience, has started the Rapha Body Experience, lives down in the Gulf of Mexico, and came up here to be helpful and useful and learn more and teach a few things. Let's get into it. You ready?
That was very generous, Andrew.
Oh, good.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be doing this with you because you are a gifted storyteller, but also just an interesting human being as well. And I'm better for knowing you. Thank you.
Feel free to say more while you're on camera. Thank you so much.
Give me that clipboard.
Yeah, right? Man, I thought I was sweating before now. Woo. Well, that's great. Thank you for saying that. I love story. I love anybody's journey, because the things that shaped every human being are different, but there's so much commonality. That's why we kind of can get along with one another. And your story is, it's full of all kinds of great stuff. You were generous enough to send me kind of a tale. And I had a great time reading it. 'Cause, we got to know each other professionally. Just full disclosure, Lauren's also, she's not just a Sound Legacy guest, she's also a client.
I am.
And we've done some good work together. Yeah. But, you do stuff professionally, but you don't really get to know the thing under the thing, the person under the story. And let's just start in the beginning. Let's go. Take me back to the hill country of Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about growing up there. What was it like?
So I grew up in a town called New Braunfels, between Austin and San Antonio, a German town. My maiden name is Schlamois.
Spell it.
Schlameus.
How do you say it?
Schlamois.
Schlamois.
My dad's name was Helmuth Albert. My grandfather's name, Helmuth Adolf.
Okay.
So
strong
German roots.
Yeah.
I am remiss that I did not learn German except for the bad words and the funny words. And
that's all I want to know.
They're all funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. My parents grew up there. They actually grew up across the street from each other. My mom's mom was a hairdresser, had a hair salon, and then my dad's dad owned the Goodyear automotive store in town. And then families had been there in that area, settlers. And I'm the youngest of three. And with my dad's job, they traveled around. And then when I was 5 months old, I was born in Memphis.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Named Memphis, Tennessee. I was only there for...
That's where I was born.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
See? Well,
small world.
Yeah. So they moved back when I was 5 months old and then stayed there for the rest of their lives.
What brought them to Memphis? Goodyear. Yeah, there's a big plant up there.
Yeah, my dad worked for Goodyear, corporate.
Wow.
He started technically working for Goodyear for my grandpa when he was like 12.
What's the mix of your siblings?
So I have two. My oldest sibling is 11 years older than I am. And then my middle sister is 9 years older than I am.
Okay.
So they always
boy,
say,
girl, or is it all girls?
All girls.
All girls.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so much to my father's chagrin. I was the closest thing
I was
to
gonna
like
ask.
when I played soccer, and they called my position on defense a fullback. He was like, "Well, I guess that's the fullback I always wanted, right?"
That's fantastic.
I was the hunter, all of those things
Yeah.
with my dad. So I mean, my parents lived in the house I grew up in until my dad passed away, and then my mom moved into a memory care facility. So over 50 years, same house, same town, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Yeah, so very rich in history and connection.
I've ridden my bike through New Braunfels. We rode across Texas. It took a month.
Oh, I love it.
And the Texas Hill Country was kind of my favorite part. It was the harder part because obviously there's hills. They're not kidding.
Yeah.
But it's so pretty. And people, I don't know what people think of when they think of Texas, but I imagine most people don't think of that.
Yeah, it's, the limestone rocks and the cliffs and it's just, it's gritty and it's pretty.
Verdant valleys, there's like just beautiful rivers and the green, lush.
Yeah,
it's a gorgeous place.
I'm a river girl because in my town there's two rivers, and river tourism is also a big thing. The Guadalupe River and then the Comal River.
Oh, okay.
And Comal River is a spring-fed river that feeds the park and then goes into the Guadalupe, and it's just the way it smells.
Yeah.
The way it sounds, the way it looks.
You're running around the more like rambunctious of your three sisters. Is that fair to say?
I mean, maybe. What
would they say?
Well, yeah, they were 9 and 11 years older than me. So by the time I have memory of siblings, they were high school, college. Right. They call me an accident.
They called you that?
Yeah. I mean, because they were like, you weren't planned. You were an accident. I like to refer to myself as a surprise.
Surprise, mom and dad.
Surprise. My experience in the family was very different than theirs.
Yeah.
Very, very different, and
sure.
Which was good because I didn't have a sibling to run around with. We lived kind of out in the country. So I had a very vivid imagination. Yeah. Imaginary friends and my mom, and she took me everywhere with her. She was on the parks department, in the garden club. We were doing plants, and I was going to meetings and interacting with people. And my mom is so funny. I mean, you're in the line at the grocery store. She's going to have a conversation with you. And it's usually going to be a funny conversation because we notice funny things, So, yeah, my experience, I didn't really get to know my siblings until I was older.
Right.
And it was kind of neat because it was like meeting them as a friend in a completely different phase. I mean, granted, we had some history.
Well, sure.
Yeah. But, yeah.
There's a lot to be said for positive isolation. When you're on your own and you have this beautiful place like you grow up as your canvas to paint your imagination on.
Yeah.
My oldest sibling was also 11 years older, but they filled in. There were many accidents along the way. There's every 10 years my parents had 2 kids for some reason. But surprise! They couldn't have been surprised by the time they got to me. There's no way they were surprised.
Don't you know how this happens?
There's no way they were surprised. But I had an older sister who was just a couple years older than me. But when I describe her when she was younger, she was just shorter. She's been like an adult her whole life.
Oh, I love it.
And so we hung out, but I had a lot of time to myself. And I know that the richness of that inner space and exploring your own mind and making stuff up because you don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I love that vision of you as a little kid.
It was so fun. And, and my mom just encouraged it all.
Yeah.
Like my one imaginary friend, her name was Jury. My mom would...
Jury?
Jury.
Like jury duty?
I guess, yeah.
Amazing.
But she would unplug the phone when we used to have a phone plugged into the wall. And she would dial the number and say, I'm going to call her mom and see if she can talk to you. And I would talk on the phone. And so there's a funny family story about me saying, well, Jury's mom said I could come to her house. Can you take me? And my mom said, well, I don't know where she lives. And I said, well, she lives up the hill and down the hill in the pink and purple house. And so my mom tried to, do her mom thing and distract me. I had a fit. So my mom gets in the car and we go drive around town.
Looking for Jerry.
Going up hills and down hills looking for the pink and purple house. Right. So still to this day, if any of my siblings or anybody that knows that story, if they see a house that's pink and purple, they send me a picture and they're like, look, we found it.
Yeah.
Oh, I cried.
That's
and then
amazing.
I had a pink balloon named Robin. And then when Robin popped, also very traumatic.
Sure.
And so family members brought me replacement balloons, and I could not understand what they were doing.
Yeah, who is this?
Yeah, so
I've never met this
every
guy.
so often there'll be I'll get from one of my siblings. That's not Robin.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, if your siblings are not good at making fun of you, that's another loss. Like, what's the point of having siblings if they're not?
Oh yeah.
They don't know the levers to pull. That's great. Wow. Do you want to give a shout out to either of your siblings?
Sure.
Yeah. You want to say anything nice, or would you just want to cut this part from
No. Betho is the doer glue of our whole family. Beth, we call her Betho.
Doer glue?
The doers. She's the glue.
Okay.
She handles all the things. She's the organizer. She's the checker honor. She's the mother hen. And then Sam is just so funny and so lovable. And I have so much admiration for Sam and how Sam just lives their life. I love them so much.
Yeah. You're not going to get me talking about my siblings on this show.
Yeah.
So I guess where I'm heading, the reason I was asking about your siblings is you are a woman very much in her body, right? The human body, not just your own, but other people's, you're really trying to figure out what is the body response from that thing in your life.
Right.
And the things in your life that guided you to be the lady that you are today start, I think, sure, your imagination, but in your body, when you realize, okay, I've got this thing, I can do all kinds of stuff. What was it that was like motivating you?
It's kind of interesting because, living in your, talking about living in your imagination and doing things, I wasn't really aware that I had a body, and then my own experience, being a woman in a body, there's a certain point where you start paying attention to it for different reasons. And I remember the first time it was impactful. My dad was 6'4". He was a collegiate basketball player. He was an athlete. He was a doer. My oldest sibling is 6 foot. My other sister is 5'9". And I grew very early. So I was actually this height in about 6th or 7th grade.
How tall are you?
5'6" 3/4", but I wear big shoes.
Okay.
I present taller.
You've got tall lady energy.
Yeah. So I was taller than my friends, and I was in a dance class. I was probably like 9 or 10. And in a dance class, there's mirrors. And I remember the moment that my observational lens changed and I saw how much bigger I was than everybody else. And it was only in hindsight when I realized what was going on. And it wasn't until a couple weeks later, the dance teacher asked my mom, why hasn't Lauren been coming to dance class? And she would drop me off and I would sit on the stairs.
And it wasn't that you didn't enjoy dancing.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you took something that you enjoyed away from yourself to protect yourself from feeling something you didn't want to feel.
Right. Because all of a sudden my body was different. And, and my mom was like, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. If you like it, go. If you don't, great. There was no external pressure.
We need you to be a dancer.
You've got to be a dancer. And so my middle sister, she was a dancer. My oldest sibling was an athlete as well. So then that was kind of weird because I realized I was big. And then I don't know if then I started cueing into cues of people saying like, oh, we're big Germans. We got broad shoulders, we got a big old Charlie Brown head. That's what we say in our family because our hat size is big, all of us.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't look like you have a big head to be honest.
Yeah. So my mom's head was actually larger than my dad's head.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she didn't look like a bobblehead, but
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Right.
a family joke. So those things kind of stick with you.
Sure.
And then, and I played youth sports and did that. But it never really was like, I love it.
Such a crazy thing. The first time you're really aware of your body is to feel like a shame in it.
Yeah.
Like that's a weird imprint.
Yeah, it is a weird imprint.
And at what point did you realize, oh, this is actually an advantage?
So then when I got into middle school, developmentally, my coordination kind of kicked in and I was taller than everybody else. So I don't know if I was technically really good or if I just had the mechanical advantage of being tall and coordinated. And so then I was really good at sports. And then it shifted. Like, oh, I can use this for...
Yeah.
It made me feel good, right? Being good, scoring a lot of points, whether it was playing basketball or volleyball or whatever. And then I was also able to form a bond within a group within my team as well.
Yeah.
Because being highly imaginative, I was always kind of quirky and weird. And I mean, I didn't think I was weird, but I wasn't interested in, I don't know, the stuff that other little girls were. I don't know. I mean, so that shifted. And then really my relationship with my body became performative. I mean, and then obviously as a teenage girl, you throw in boys, then that shifts and skews that perspective even more. And it was 100% performative. And then I realized I can train it. I could train my body.
Right.
If I show up to practice earlier, if I do this more, if I work
and
harder
faster.
and
Yeah.
I get stronger. It's like, oh, this is really neat.
Is this what sort of developed, and I'm using your words now, the overachiever?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of always in there.
That was cooked in?
Yeah.
Why are you an overachiever? What's that about? Do you think that's nurture or nature?
I think it's a little bit of both. My parents never told me I had to get good grades. I mean, a lot of that stuff I put on myself.
Yeah.
It was just that low level expectation. I don't know.
Were your siblings really great at what they did?
Yeah, I mean, my sister was good. She was, a colonel of the dance team. And, they were good at, the stuff that they did as well. I don't really know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just, I wanted to do stuff and I wanted to do it well.
Yeah. I think a lot of times the word overachiever is pejorative. People put it's not. I don't think it's a pejorative. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I've never suffered from such a thing, so I think it's fine. I've just been barely an achiever, like hanging on with the tips of my fingers. Or
I'm just an achiever.
I've shown up and I'm here and I care.
Yeah.
The idea of being an overachiever, to put that down for me seems like, why would you? That seems like ideal. That's what you would want someone to be. But I guess there's an associated cost.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think I was doing it as a better than. I just think I wanted to show up and show up well. Yeah. I wanted to do something and do it well. I mean, it's kind of, I think, really from my dad. If you're going to do something, you're going to do the dang thing. Like, that's it.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah, anytime I hear someone talking about their overachieverness, it's always with a little bit of like a tinge of like sadness almost, like I've always been this, maybe not sadness, but like a longing for like a relief valve on oneself.
Yeah, because it's almost like once you're in that pattern of that being the mark,
mm-hmm.
then
if you miss it.
Yeah. But and so that's kind of it was very interesting because then when I went to college, I decided not to play sports, and I was going to. But I remember the moment I thought, I don't have to do this.
Mm.
Like, I don't have to play sports. Whoa, I can do anything I want. And I didn't know what that was.
But then you started powerlifting.
Well, it kind of went that. I mean, I did, I still did, competitive
you did
thing.
still continue to compete, right?
Yeah. And so, but I thought, okay, well, if I'm not going to play sports for a team and for a goal and to win or to do these kinds of things, so I wanted to look good. And so, I mean, I was 18, so I joined a gym.
Yeah.
And then it kind of translated into gym and fitness culture, and then I found something else competitive to do.
Yeah.
And then.
But did that inform your desire to go into like kinesiology and body?
Well, the funniest thing was I didn't even know that was a thing to study. Yeah. Like I thought kinesiology was like you're going to be a coach. And I didn't want to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be some kind of teacher. But I didn't know what that was going to look like. So when I joined the gym, it was the first day I was there, I did a step aerobics class. And I heard, this is also kind of ignorance and ego, right? I heard them talking and the instructor was like, well, today's my last class, I'm moving. And they were like, who's going to teach? And I said, well, we haven't found anybody that can do this. I'm like, I need a job. And so I'm like, hey, I'd be interested. What are the hours? I'm going to college, but I can, it's in the evenings. And having hired and managed in the liability of large scale fitness operations, I think, what in the world? And they're like, great, can you start tomorrow?
You went from being a student to teacher within just having...
it was like my second step aerobics class because I had just joined this gym. So I went to Blockbuster Video and I rented a Jill Miller step aerobics. She's the inventor of step aerobics.
Shout out to Jill Miller.
Yes. VHS. I memorized it. A little grapevine, a little double knees. I recorded music on a cassette tape that I made myself and showed up to teach my first step aerobics class.
That's how overachieving is done. Take note, friends. That's how it's done. Wow.
Yeah. And so so then I realized I should learn some things.
Yeah.
And so then I got some certifications and learned really about,
You had a ton of certification. What was like 15, 20 different certifications?
I mean, if I added them all up over the last 30 years, I mean.
It's a lot. I mean, do you think that moment, is that why you're doing what you do now? Is that like how?
Yeah, it was so I started doing that. And then I started teaching for the college in their department. And one day I'm walking out and, my advisor, Dr. Bill Squires of the physiology department, he was like, did you just teach that class? And I said, yeah. And he's a character. I will love that man forever. And he said, if you're technically working for me and I'm your boss, why am I not teaching you? And I didn't know who he was. And I said, okay. And he said, come to my office tomorrow so you can start studying exercise science and we'll figure out your path. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I didn't know I could study this.
We'll figure out your path.
Yeah.
Man, where's that person when you need them?
Yeah.
I could use that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of this like imaginative, playful little kid suddenly discovering her body and then realizing, oh, there's a whole career to be made out of this body. But that little girl was interested in the person.
Yeah.
That's very person-centered. How did you connect the body, all this kinesiology, all this science to the person?
So when I started teaching aerobics, then when I was 18, I also then got my personal training certification. So as I'm studying the science of exercise science, mostly fitness related, but fitness and health component, I'm working with humans at the same time. So the biggest example I can get is when I got to grad school, I'm in a prescribed exercise physiology application class, meaning I'm going to learn how to apply all of this science. So the professor gives us a scenario to work through. You have a 54-year-old woman with 33% body fat that has this, and that, write the exercise prescription to get them to a healthy body fat with a healthy VO2 max, their aerobic capacity, all the metrics of fitness, flexibility, body composition, cardiovascular fitness, endurance, right? So we have the homework and we go back. Anybody have a question? And I said, okay, this is great, but I did not come to the University of Texas to do complex word problems, because this in this timeline would never happen if this woman walked in. I could tell you how fast to walk on the treadmill, how many minutes, how many sets, how many reps, and for this to change in 12 weeks. That is not realistic.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on in her life. You don't know how many kids she has, if one of them's a huge pain in her neck.
Right, but I had that experience working with humans where nobody else in that graduate program had actually worked with humans. And I had already been doing it at that point for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Yeah. And I learned very quickly when I was asked to speak with that professor afterwards that I should just do complex math word problems.
Or you should go help humans.
Right.
I think you chose wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the math is great and you have to understand the science and it is important, but it's that human component, right? That connection that creates change.
Yeah. If you're not connecting with a person and you're just doing the math for them that they can't do, that's accounting.
I learned in doing it that way, very protocol-y, of every protocol that's ever been invented in fitness fad. You're welcome. I've done them all. I can tell you all about them from personal experience. That, it is more detrimental to the humans that I've worked with to give them that math and them not be able to succeed. And then to feel like, here's one more thing I can't do. And my body, there's something wrong with my body because it does not behave the way this science says it should. And I'm like, that is categorically untrue. There's more to this story.
Yeah, I just was hearing somebody the other day talk about the difference between guilt and shame. And I'd never really thought about what they are. And guilt is, oh, I did a bad thing. Shame is, I am bad.
Right. And it took me a long time to really get to a point in how I work with people, whether they were coming for fitness, for nutrition, for whatever I was teaching at that time, or all of the above, to really interact and connect with the person in front of me and say, I hear what you are asking me to give you, but I can't work with you because if I will do more damage by giving you this.
Right. And you
not being successful psychologically, emotionally, and ultimately to your body. And I love you.
Wow.
But I'm not your girl.
Yeah. I've done consulting before and I was like, look, my job is to talk you out of this.
Right.
Like if I can't talk you out of it, then you should maybe do it. So that sounds like you did something kind of similar. Like.
And because it doesn't feel good as the trainer, teacher, coach, educator to watch somebody trying as hard as they can. I mean, and in my own experience, because of self-proclaimed overachiever or wanting to do something and doing it well. And I also believed if I was going to teach somebody something, I should have that experience training wise as well. I've done all the things and I didn't cheat. And then my body didn't respond.
Right.
And it's a punch in the gut.
Oh man. Yeah. I feel that very much so. And I appreciate anyone willing to lab rat themselves, to be the test dummy and, to know that's not just experiential wisdom that you can share, but it's also empathy.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine, one of the things you have on your website is, I've been you.
Yeah.
I've been you. I've been wherever you are. Trust me. I've been there.
I've
I mean,
been
to whatever degree, you know,
Yeah.
I know what you mean by that, you know, like, and anyone who's trying to help other people, who's not willing to face what it might feel like to be in their shoes, I think is missing out on some great wisdom. Speaking of you and people, you fell in love, as a lot of people do, in college,
I did.
and had, what was his name?
Shane.
Shane. Tell me about that. What was that like? Was that your first love, or had you had boyfriends and things?
I had the same boyfriend from 8th grade until my freshman year in college.
Wow.
But it was really more safe zone, you
Yeah.
know, because I didn't want to have to mess with boys or
Smart.
get distracted. You
Yeah.
know, he was safe. He was lovely.
Yeah.
You know, so he was technically my first love.
Yeah.
And then I met Shane. He was older than I was. He played basketball where I went to undergrad, and just the shiniest, sparkliest, goofiest, funniest, just just great. And we were friends for a long time first. And when I met him, he had gone through two rounds of treatment for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he had been in remission and was fine. You know, these phrases I always find so curious, and even more curious now when they say, if that's the one you're going to get, you want that one, right? And just, so many lessons from him, because during that, he never missed basketball practice. He went, he engaged, he went to school. His upbringing was, he was raised by his grandmother, and, he was going to be the first in his family to go to college and, do the thing. Just a really funny, great outlook on life. So grateful for everything. And then we found out 3 weeks before he was graduating college that it was back. And so we had to go through a bone marrow transplant. And that was it was a weird thing, because up until that point, I didn't have any reference point for anything like this or what to do. Always hopeful, always optimistic. And it was wild. So we went through the bone marrow transplant. So you see my tattoo, right? He loved music, and he loved Prince as a as a musician. So that's the symbol and an S. So at one point, preparing for the bone marrow transplant, he'd been in the hospital for a while, and everybody, nurses, everybody wrapped around his finger because he's a character. And so we knew it was going to be pretty wild once they started killing all of his immune cells and those kinds of things. And so we concocted the scheme, 2 nurses with some high level approval during the shift change, where we snuck him out of the hospital, and we actually got to see Prince in San Antonio.
Wow.
And then snuck him back into the hospital. So we had that outing from when he went in 4 days after he graduated from college. We had that. And then the bone marrow transplant process is crazy. And he got released, and I took him back to our apartment, and he didn't say much. And so he was 6'5.5". And at that point, he was so skinny. Our apartment was upstairs. I had to carry him up the stairs. And it was kind of like that. He knew that I knew that he knew that I knew something wasn't right. And I remember when we got in the car, he said, "Don't ask me any questions until the sun comes up tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And he wanted to go sit on the couch. He wanted to watch TV, and he wanted to use the phone. And so the sun came up, and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Am I taking you back to the hospital?" And he said, "Yes." Yeah. So he knew, I knew something wasn't quite right. And he had gotten an infection. We take him back. After we got there, within 2 hours, they had to put him into medical induced coma, flip him over, see if his lungs cleared. And so he was kind of technically an orphan. We weren't married. His grandmother couldn't travel. So I had to keep him on life support for X number of days before they could turn it off. So it's weird. And school had started again for me. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd leave the hospital in San Antonio, I'd drive to Seguin, I'd go to class, I'd drive back, and sleep in the hospital.
How old were you?
21. Yeah, it was wild.
And how long was he in the hospital before he passed?
14 days.
It's an eternity.
It's an eternity.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting. My sister and I were just talking. My mom is in memory care with dementia. And at this phase of it, where she is now, she's been on hospice for about a year. And my last visit, my sister was sharing, she said, I'm really struggling now when I go see mom. She's the doer, the taker care of. So she does all of that stuff. And I said, last time I was there was the first time I couldn't feel her.
Wow.
And I said, and it made me feel a bunch of ways. And I said, and what I realized is that's the exact same feeling when they induced Shane into a coma. I couldn't feel him. Yeah. And I was like, this is the worst. But as I told my sister, I said, this is the worst part. Because there's none of this.
Right.
And this is really, whatever we're doing, this is what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just for you on the receiving end, but for the other person, it's all, it's wrapped up. And so if you're not feeling them, they're not feeling you.
Oh.
Yeah. Whew. 21 to be feeling that.
What happened for me then, I had no frame of reference. Always being able to do everything. I turned into a robot. I was still trying to do everything. But there wasn't nothing going on. 20 years, for 20 years, I was a robot after that. I did the things just to do them. Because that's all I knew how to do. Yeah. But it changed my relationship with myself. It changed my relationship with God, with my family, with my friends, with my body. Everything was dialed down or affected. I could mimic myself.
At what point did you married at some point?
I did. Yeah. So in that I had a long relationship, and it was real funny, when something like that happens. I was like, then when I dated, I was like, I'm an independent woman. Marriage is an instant, it's a construct. I don't need to be married. Really it was that like, I ain't going to believe in this because you might die, which was really underneath that, which I see now. And then and then I got pregnant, which was, out of order for the overachiever. So, my siblings were like, yes, you're the one that checked that box for mom and dad. And I carried Jack for 9 months. And then, it was Aiden, that last 8 hours, he didn't make it.
Did you name him before? Or named him when he was born? You knew it was a boy?
Yeah, I knew it was a boy.
His
name was Jack. Is Jack. We had the baby showers. We were all set up. My oldest sibling and I moved into a house together. Everybody was over the scandal.
Right.
At that point, and just ready to this move forward. And really after that, I didn't know how to move through something like that. And it was just complete, like, it was like I was back to that little girl in the dance studio, just completely disconnecting from my body.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in that scenario, because that was in my body.
In your body. Actual,
right? A physical piece of me, physical, energetic, all the things. And so it was like robot mode 2.0 activated.
Think about your current work now and how you're always looking to find the body response, right? Like what is happening in your body? What is the thing under the thing? How did what happened to you make what's happening to you possible? What sort of thumbprint of God does that put on you to go through the whole thing to lose at the end, right at the...
Yeah. It's so interesting because I look at it now through a completely different lens because I'm I'm in a completely different body now than I was then. And I have an understanding now of what happens in our nervous system responses, how that affects us at a cellular, biochemical, physiological level, how it, our neuroplasticity, all of these things, and our immune system. And then after I caught a virus in 2020, in the land of take some aspirin and stay home, and then got a little bit better and then got a whole lot worse and went through this whole crazy train ride. It makes sense now that the tipping point, the potential in my body to handle impact had been severely affected because I didn't have a true healthful relationship with my body. Yeah. It was always separate, right? Because if it was connected, there was a whole lot of things I would have to feel. And that's real feely. Yeah. If I live up here and I can just mimic me, I don't have to feel all this grief and sadness and anger and rage and what in the actual F is happening. And, I want to live with my imaginary friends.
How important is it to actually feel that stuff? I mean, what did you learn about that? Because I know you're not the only person in the world who's ever sought to not feel their feelings. I mean, many people avoid it with drugs and alcohol, with whatever it is to avoid feeling. So what, in your, many years of experience, why is it important? And what does it do to your body to make sure you actually feel it and address it?
Yeah, that's the question. So as we respond to impact, biochemical, physical, and emotional, for lack of a better term, every second, our body is propriocepting what's going on in space, how we're thinking, how we're feeling, the temperature, the air, the lights, the this, the that. There's all of this information. And each time there's an impact that's going to cause you to feel something that's greater than, let's say, your capacity. I call it a tipping point. If you don't have practiced resilience in that, it's kind of like you glitch. And then your immune system changes. How you respond to things changes. Your fascia actually starts to constrict and hold in postures. Your body structure may change. Your bones may change. And it's really precipitous to unease or dis-ease. And then it's like one of those little what's it called? The little dominoes, and they all fall and the balls roll. You get to a point to where it just goes bink. And usually there's some kind of illness.
Right.
As a manifestation, because your body loses the capacity to repair, regenerate, and renew, which is what it's designed to do. It's a pretty bad mamma jamma. It's got some amazing systems in there. And if you don't feel what's going on, then there's constriction. If there's no flow, no go. And I say that a lot to my clients about anything: circulation, lymphatic, emotions, whatever, digestion. there has to be resilience. And when you're avoiding feeling something, it creates tension, friction, tension, right? So if I took a steel scrubber that you wash dishes with and I woke up this morning and I went like this on my wrist, nothing would happen. But if I did it tomorrow, and then I did it the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, eventually that skin is going to break. And then eventually might get infected. And then eventually, and that's what avoiding feelings do. You know, it's just little. I mean, and we were laughing about, you know, with my, you know, growing up with my German family. I mean, we didn't talk about feelings. I mean, I don't think I saw my mom and dad ever hug each other until we had their like 50th wedding anniversary. Because I remember thinking, oh, look, that's cute. They're touching each other. I mean, and like my oldest sibling and I still like, we laugh because they're like, oh, I mean, like, I'll hug you in a heartbeat, but it's just not what we did.
Sure, I get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
It's so weird.
Well, the idea that the body is, I know there's a whole, it is keeping a score, right? It's whether you recognize it or not, your body is. And, you know, we talk about fascia.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what fascia is. Because I mean, we just think of like it being a structure in our body.
You know, I mean, and that's such a wide question, because really the question is more appropriate to say, tell me what fascia isn't.
Right. Or like, where's your body end and the thing that thinks all the thoughts and feels all the feelings begin? Right?
Yeah. So traditionally, fascia has been classified as connective tissue, but the only way you could study it was on a cadaver. So by then it's dried out, so there's no hydration. So it just looks like sinew, white sinew. And there's no conductivity to it. But now with really cool science tools, we can learn it's much more complex. And so it's not just structure holding and having to do with the tensegrity. It doesn't have just mechanical properties. So it has mechanical properties and how we move, rotate, twist, the load we can lift and carry, the structure of our bones, all of those kinds of things. But it's actually like a liquid crystal, and it's different crystallized shapes. So we've got a salt rock over there. I mean, I'm in Marin. I can get a crystal anywhere. It's a giant web of really crystalline shapes in our body that wraps around from right underneath our skin at different layers to every cell of our body. Because it hydrates it, it gives it conductivity, electrical potential in this process called piezoelectricity. But it is a sensory organ. It's connected with our nervous system. So both pieces of it, our central nervous system, how our brain delivers information through our spinal cord to make organs function, to make me able to go like this or whatever, you know, whatever I need to do, but also into our autonomic nervous system of controlling our rest and our digest, our fight, our flight, flee, all of those things. Our fascia is also our spidey senses. So when we feel an emotion, it's moving, it's responding. And so the phrase the body keeps score, it's more like it's a diary. Because I don't like score, because that means somebody wins and somebody loses, and then here we are again because I want a gold star.
The overachiever.
Right, yeah.
I can feel the worst.
Yeah, but it's more of a diary. It gets imprinted. And in those imprints, from whether it's biochemical, getting a virus, getting an infection, taking medication, not taking medication, whatever, physical, exercising, moving, not moving, getting injured, and then emotional, right? our awareness in space, right? Danger, danger, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up before I turn and see some sketchy guy in the alleyway. That's your fascia.
Yeah.
It's your spidey senses. And so the more resilient that is, so if we're looking for the thing under the thing, or we're talking about connection, right? Being able to feel something, it's our transceiver. It's how we receive information, and it's how we send information to other humans and to every physiological function in our body. So if we're going to get to the thing under the thing, let's just work with that thing that talks to all the other things.
Yes. Yeah,
Done.
I mean, it's interesting because it's such a hard thing to study because there's not like a unit of sadness.
Right.
There's not a quantum of woe or a thing that you can like actually measure against when it comes to feelings and to experiential goings on in your body, right? Like, losing a child, losing a fiance, the loss. How does that translate into homeostasis? I have no idea. I just want to talk to cute old people and have them tell me their stories. I know no science. I know nothing, but I do know what anxiety feels like in my muscles, there's a lot of information going on that I think intuitively we might somehow know how to deal with because we're animals and animals know what to do. But our brains and our conditioning and everything else that's going on in us resist that. And so I want to talk to you about what happened to you specifically, because you've hinted at the virus of 2020 that gave you the grief. And it wasn't just, you just got sick and then it was over. You got sick and you got worse and many things happened. And that has led you to, I think, reconnect, sounds like, with your faith, with the idea of actually helping people and sort of getting back to that little girl that started us off in the beginning. So take me on that journey.
Ooh, what a journey. Yeah. So we, got a virus in 2020. Almost everybody I know got the same virus. Many people recovered from it. I know several that did not recover from it. And it was just such a weird time because we had been disconnected from everybody. We had been scared. We had been staying home. It was weird and isolating. And, I got
We're talking about COVID?
COVID. Yeah. The Rona. Yeah. The vid. So, I got better and, but then like weird stuff started happening. My feet started burning. I don't have neuropathy. Went to the doctor. Well, it sounds like you have neuropathy. What? And it was weird. It was this juxtaposition because at that time I was co-owner of a fitness studio, was, training clients, doing integrative nutrition, some other holistic practices, had personal training clients, and then had this whole thing going on. And I couldn't reconcile in my brain. And then people also said the same thing to me, but you're so healthy. You do everything right. So it was this weird, well, this is going to go away. And then something else weird would start happening. And then I was like dizzy all the time. And then I was nauseous all the time. And then I couldn't stand up. And then I was tired. And it just, it snowballed into this, one of those things, me saying I always want to experience the people I hope we're going to experience, right? So going to doctors and blood work and nobody had any answers and just getting idiopathic diagnosis, which really means we don't really know. So it kind of looks like this, Yeah. So at one point I was sitting with a group of doctors that said, well, CAT scans, CT scans, every lab work, some of it paid for, a lot of it private paid. I was doing hyperbaric chambers, ozone therapy, like anything at this point to feel better. And I was sitting with a group of doctors that said, well, we could treat you for lupus or MS. Wow. And I said, okay, well.
Which one do I have?
Yeah, which one? Yeah, what is it? They were like, well, there's nothing super definitive. Everything that you have could be, falls in MS and lupus. So you just need to decide which treatment route you want to go. And I was like, so you're basically asking me to choose how you want to treat me with some pretty scary things that have some alternatives. And I'm just going to be like, heads or tails? And then it's strange because when you're going to people for help and they genuinely want to solve a problem, and it's a weird feeling, man. It is so weird. And so working with people that have been in that path, and then whether people infer that they're crazy and making it all up, or it just makes you feel that way because nothing makes sense, is strange. It's strange. It's very isolating. And again, I was in that identity crisis because I had learned all the things about how to have a healthy body, and I did them with my perfect check marks. What?
And it was getting worse.
It was getting worse. I mean, I would get up in the morning because you still do the dang thing, right? We already established that.
What were all your symptoms? I know you've got it. I know. Just give me like a rundown.
So my feet felt like the sun was burning from the inside out from the bones. So wearing shoes, and my shins, lots of swelling. My legs would swell. You would joke about saying, oh gosh, I have cankles. My ankles and my calves were bigger than the top of my thighs. I was dizzy all of the time. Often I would throw up a couple of times a day just from the dizziness. I could barely eat any foods. I could stay awake maximum about 6 hours with just like crashing and having to be in bed. Extreme pain, back pain. Oh gosh, I had rashes.
And weight gain. Didn't you gain weight?
And a lot of, I gained a lot of weight. A lot of it was fluid now I know that. Yeah. I was, people talk about brain fog and memory loss. I remember I was in my office at one point trying to figure something out for sets and reps for this class I was going to teach. And I realized I couldn't figure out what 4 + 4 was. I could not generate the answer. And I remember a little tear just sliding down, and I walked out and I told our office girl and my business partner, I said, okay, you guys have full permission to talk behind my back. I still want y'all to ask me questions like I know what I'm answering because I need to feel this way. But if I tell you something, you go double check with her. And if I tell you something, you go double check with her. Full permission. Because I was like, but still ask me. It was wild. It wasn't like a brain glitch, like, oh, I can't think of it. I literally could not come up with the answer. And then I was like, oh, crap, there's something seriously going on here. Yeah. And so, came to find out that I was having little TIAs, little like mini strokes. Praise the Lord that I have no lasting damage from any of that. The culmination was I did experience a heart attack.
You did?
Yes. And it was super weird. My heart's fine. The night before, I was like, it feels like somebody opened a can of Coke in my chest. It feels kind of fizzy, and every time it fizzes, it shocks me.
Oh my God. That's the funniest.
I didn't say that out loud. That was my internal dialogue.
Yeah, I feel like if someone had said that out loud, someone else might have been like, you said what now?
Yeah. But I had every monitor. Like I kept data on everything. I had my Oura ring. I had my watch. Because I was trying to figure out a solution. I was trying to logic my way into what was going on here. And so that had been happening. And I remember I was sitting in my chair I don't know if I thought I was going to go somewhere that day or not. I was always hopeful that I was going to be able to pretend like I was okay. And I remember I was like, whoa, I'm dizzy and I'm not even standing up. And then it all got fizzy. And then all of a sudden I was like, are my eyes open or closed? I had a couple of moments like that. Are my eyes open or closed? And then I was watching my heart rate go from like 47 to 190 to 32 to like 210. And I was like, I took cardiac rehab class.
This is a heart attack.
Yeah. But I just love it. The neat thing about that was just the day before, I had found a group of doctors that were it was kind of like a secret doctor society that was meeting. And they were from all different disciplines, and they would get together and pick a case, and they would go over it together and work with the weird ones. They were my people.
Yeah.
Because now that's where I come.
I have one. I got a weird one.
And what they found out, and I have been, couple years at that point, of all the blood I had drawn, like I could keep like a whole family of vampires alive at this point, that they normally spin blood in a centrifuge because they're looking at particles. Nobody had actually looked at my blood cells under a microscope. So they actually looked at my blood and they were like, oh, your red blood cells are not behaving like they should. And for lack of a better word, they get sticky. And that's now a more known thing that happens after getting COVID from the spike protein. It changes the way that those cells can respirate. That's why clots and strokes and heart attacks are very common now from that. They were like, I think we can try a cycle of blood thinners and see if your body then wants, because they look at systems.
Sure.
Right? Your body has a hierarchy of systems that it's going to send energy on. And that system is sucking the life out of me being able to have good digestion or tolerate gluten, or that doesn't care if my feet hurt, right? Sure. They're like, if we start here, we'll start to give you the potential, your body the potential to take care of everything else. And if it doesn't, then we address that. And so just the day before, I had said, all right, let's do it. Let's go aggressive. Let's put me on all three. You know, if I have to be scared that I'm going to cut myself shaving my legs, I'll have hairy legs, like whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
And so I, watched my heart rate do whatever. And then I called them and I said, hey, this just happened. What do I do? And they were lovely because they said, okay, we have a colleague in the town near you, a cardiologist, electrocardiologist, because if you call the ambulance and they take you in the ambulance and they're going to put you in the hospital and it's going to be this whole thing, and then they're not going to talk to us and it's going to be this whole long situation. I said, have somebody drive you there. They will see you. They will do the EKG, do all the tests, and then tell you if you need to go. And we did that, and they're like, heart's fine. Basically, it was just the vagus nerve was like, let's see if we can start this sucker and push those red blood cells back up to your heart, sister. And so mechanically, everything was fine, and I started the blood thinners, and little by little, kind of cleaned the house systemically.
But you did more than that.
Yeah.
Right, way more than that.
Yeah.
There was an intervention, a medical intervention, but you also, this is when your interest in fascia, I would imagine, took another jump start.
It did. Yeah. And so because up to this point in my wellness career, studying fascia from a fitness standpoint, it was foam rollers and, the trigger point therapy group I had studied with them and, all of that stuff.
All great stuff.
Yeah, which is all fantastic. But in the mix of this, and I'm also having a tremendous identity crisis, in that you're so healthy, this is what's happening. You help people, you should know, all of that stuff. And, man, I'm like, I got a great relationship with God. and I'm praying and, and I really realized in that I was really giving him instructions on what I wanted. So it was like, hi, God, let me tell you how to be God here because I know all these things and it's not working.
Right.
Can you make them work? Magic wand, go.
Yeah. It's God or Santa Claus. Which one are you? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm writing
exactly. So, and so I'd had a couple of really low point moments of like, I don't know how to be like this. And so I had this moment where, and it was actually before the cardiac event. It was really one of those like where you just like lay down face on the floor. I'm like, done, tapping out. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be like this. I cannot muster the energy to try one single thing.
You spent some money.
Yeah.
How much did you spend?
Like probably like $200,000 out of pocket, doing all the things. And if you don't have anything diagnosable, there's nothing to write a code and to swipe that old insurance card for.
Right.
I was optimistic. There's a way, right? And so I really I was at this low point at this moment. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. I don't know how to be, and at that point, my husband, God love him. He's just steady, man. It had to have been terrible for him. And we talk about it a little bit, but he's just so steady because I was just a shell of a person because he got the least of me. Because when I was at home, I was in bed.
You're relatively newly married.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Married a woman in 2019.
We got married in 2019. And it was a year later, so we'd been together just a couple years.
In sickness and in health. Let's test, poke at that, see how that works.
So I really had just then had this really shake your fist moment with God. Like I was mad, very dramatic, right? Like, my God, why have you forsaken me? Like your whole purpose in my life is to make sure I don't feel discomfort. And, isn't that what it's Santa Claus, right? All about. A really, really big moment. And I was like, that's it. And when I said, like, I can't do this, I really realized I can't do this with what I have right now. The knowledge, the energy, the physical resources, all of those things. So I went to bed. Very vivid moment. I woke up, but I sat up and then I was awake. And in my head, I heard the word fascia. And it was such a strange occurrence for me. And it was so profound that I wasn't creeped out. I was like, it was real weird because I thought that was a perfectly normal thing, which it was not for me. And I Google this. And by 6 a.m., I had signed up to learn with the Human Garage group that were doing, at that time, really the most forward thinking of fascial maneuvers and the connection with fascia and emotions and health in the body. And I completed one of their, earliest programs. And then that led that. And I started doing that practice because before you could enroll, you had to do 90 days of the practice first. And that was hard. It was freaking hard. It hurt. I would twist my body and breathe and I would cry because it's what I imagine somebody with fibromyalgia feels like, And funny thing, I started getting better. I started getting better. I started getting better. I started getting better. And by better, it's real subtle. It wasn't a profound like, yeehaw, I'm healed.
Right.
It was like I could walk up and down my stairs without crying. I could stay awake for longer than 4 hours at a time. And I was like, there's something to this. and then learning the connection of that with the nervous system. And then I studied that, and then the gut microbiome, and how all of those systems affect the whole thing. And the great connector is the fascia. And so in that learning, and now how I have studied, that's the foundational piece of how I approach anybody that comes to me looking for some kind of relief, whether they know it or not. Because if I can work with something, the one thing that impacts everything,
Yeah.
why do anything else?
Well, what's interesting about the story you just told me, you and I have worked together on a project, and you recorded a client testimonial, and the story that she told could have just as easily been the story that you just told.
Yeah.
I mean, with
Right.
obvious differences, but like the pain aspect of it, what she felt in her body and how it limited her life, it very strongly recommends you to do the work that you're doing. Because not only did she say I had all these things, but now she's like, and now I don't. Which, and the connecting piece of fascia there is you know, that like, hey, I found this person who listened to me, understood that, oh no, it's not that you're getting bad advice, it's just you're not getting the whole picture. And you've found a way to connect people with themselves. So your story is like, it's so many people's story where you've got this bubbling optimism and all this potential, and then all the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And the terrible things happen to you. And, you know, there's so many different ways that people diverge from there. Some people just go into a pit of despair. Some people just blindly move on and like, I'm not going to feel any of that. I'm fine. And the path that you chose, whether you chose it intentionally or not, but the path that you ended up on, suppressing all that pain.
Yeah.
Suppressing that pain. And it just feels like from your story that it built up in you.
100%.
You had this like, I mean, decades long well of, we didn't even talk about, you know, you were married for a while. You had a beautiful stepson, a nonverbal autistic young man who was clearly a love in your life.
Yeah.
Your own losses, all that stuff. I can very well, my intuition tells me it's very possible that that sort of thing can eventually find a way to screw over your entire body.
100%.
And this is a long-winded way of saying that what you came out of it with is nothing short of a gift, right? I've met people who know they're dying,
Yeah.
you know, that have that gift of terminal awareness.
Yeah.
And you got the gift of knowing that you're living. Yeah. You know, which is like, oh, I am, I need these feelings. Of course I should feel this. Of course it's in my body. I've found the place where it's living, and let's do something about that. And that you've chosen to continue to work with the body and help people in this way, I think is really, it's wise, and it recommends you well for what you're doing. So
No, thank you. That was a very eloquent way to sum that all up, Andrew.
well, I made it up as I went along.
I love it.
What
It's
really
good.
helps, you know.
You should do this.
I should do this.
You should do this. You know, and so the best way I describe it, like the virus, and like you're talking about the history of all of that, and I see that through such a different lens now of when somebody comes to me and they, like I said, the weird ones, right? You know, I most of my clients come by word of mouth or referral with other practitioners that are like, here. But what I'm really doing is teaching, guiding people to move the needle of that tipping point that's going to cascade them into dis-ease. Whether it's not having the tools to experience or feel those feelings, because the body is the diary and that imprint is causing that domino effect of something down the line, is if we can increase your potential. And what happened when I started doing fascial maneuvers is the 50 other interventions I was doing began to work. Because all interventions inherently can work, but if your body doesn't have the potential for them to work, I mean, then it's just swipe that card, put it on the shelf, whatever that supplement is, and even medications as well, why they work for some and not for others. So when I work with the fascia, what we're really doing in the nervous system is, can we change the potential in your body to deal with whatever comes your way, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's a virus, whether, it's picking up the laundry and hurting your back. Or whatever it is. So as I say, I work with body potential.
Knows too much.
How do I do it?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that connects it all. So when I started doing those fascial practices, what started happening is everything else I was doing then began to have positive interference instead of no interference.
So let's get back to brass tacks. Julie is out there. Julie doesn't know what's going on in her body. She's having all kinds of problems. Hope I'm not naming an actual client. Just pick Julie at random.
Okay. Random Julie.
Random Julie that we do not know. She's out there in the world. She's suffering from so many things. Nothing's working. She's spending money. She's trying to... You can look at Julie right now and be like, okay, what do you tell Julie? Is there hope for Julie? What's Julie supposed to do?
Great question. So yeah, there's always hope. And the question to that is, I don't know. But what I do know is if we work with these systems, your body's going to reveal some things. It's going to reveal maybe what is a little bit dysfunctional more loudly than something else that's taking all of your resources to renew, to heal, to repair. And it takes time. So if I'm working with somebody one-on-one hands-on, I use my hands to feel the tissue, to take them through fascial maneuvers. What's your circulation like? What's your lymphatic flow? What's all of these things? And I let the body is here's your clue. Then you follow the clues, and I follow the clues, and I follow the clues until we get to what that is. So with Julie, I don't know. I mean, Julie is basically the majority of my clients. So an example is I have a client that came to me as a referral who was walking on a cane. She's 32, was walking on a cane, had been in the urgent care the night before, bowel impaction. They wanted to do major surgery, didn't know what was wrong. We worked together for about 6 months. And as she got some body potential, I could ask more questions. We could kind of get some things. I could support her in asking questions of her providers. But what ended up happening is we discovered she had active Lyme disease. Right? So she had been chasing this thing for 7 years. And at that point, she had a 5-year-old. And I said, what's your why? She said, I have a 5-year-old. I'm a mom. I said, I don't know if I can help you, but I know these things will do something and make the potential of everything else there. Can you hang with me? And she said, I don't have any other choice.
So we're going to wrap it up because I know we're getting to, but I want to drill in on something because one thing I've noticed that you do, you told that story about the blood, right?
Yeah.
That they looked at all the constituent pieces of your blood, but not the actual blood. But the human being, to look at the whole human being, there's the constituent pieces of your knee and your liver and your eyes. Fine. But the whole being is the story, right? And if you don't know the story, what's happening in that person's life, what are the contributing factors that make that person, the human being inside, the thing, wherever their fascia stops and the soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it begins, to me, and I know, we work together. I'm professionally obligated to think you're great, but personally, I agree with my professional self that you take the time to learn the story.
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, let me start manipulating and see what works. You skipped a step there because you get to know that person.
Yeah.
And that to me, I also think it's very important because I also professionally really care about stories.
Yeah.
But I think that is a component of your work that is more important than I think people might give credit. Just for one, having someone listen who cares, I think is very valuable. But someone who cares and has the know-how to interpret that data and see how's that affecting your fascia. Why?
Yeah.
Oh, your kidney's doing this and your legs are doing that. What happened to you in college?
Yeah.
That sort of story. I think we are storytelling machines running on memory.
100%.
And what are those memories?
Yeah.
And you tend to dig in, which I think is laudable.
Yeah. And again, the body's the diary. And what's so beautiful, do you have a book that you've ever read multiple times?
Yeah.
And have you ever experienced when you've read it at a different time, the meaning change?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah.
Right. So, same words, right? Different lens.
Different reader.
Different reader, right? Different perspective.
For sure.
So, not so much a scorekeeper, it's a diary. And just like me recanting some of these stories 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would not have been able to have these conversations with you, right? Because I'm different reader.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different observation, right? Different capacity to feel those things in a different way. I don't feel like somebody punches me in the stomach when I say Jack or Shane.
Yeah.
Before I would be like, "Ooh," and now I'm like, oh, yeah, it was so beautiful.
I heard someone say the other day, you don't ever recover from a loss. You just find a way to live in the world where that thing is no longer there.
That's it. So,
And that to me was like, oh man, because we all have it coming. There's a terrible loss
right.
awaiting everyone. You are a terrible loss to someone because you will eventually not be here.
Yeah.
There's another thing. I talked to a lot of wise people, and this woman said, a woman who knows a lot about death, she said, death is not the scary thing, it's having not lived.
That's it.
And that's it. So we're out here all trying to live, trying to do our best. And I appreciate the way you're doing it because you are genuinely trying to help people.
Yeah. And that's what I say. It's like, if you increase your body potential and your resiliency, you increase your ability to be okay. You're like, I want peace. I want somebody, I'm just searching for peace. No, what we're searching for is that, can I be peaceful here?
Yeah.
Can I be peaceful over there? I call it okayness.
Yeah.
Can you be okay? Can I be okay here?
Beware the guru who does not say they don't know. You said, I don't know. The first thing you said about poor Julie was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Great. So I said, you're hired. I don't want to hear I know. It's like, I don't know. Let's figure it out.
I don't know.
So, Lauren, thank you very much for coming to Texas. I know this isn't the only reason you came to Texas, but I'm going to tell myself that for the purpose of this podcast. And for doing what you do and helping people. It's great.
You're welcome. And you cannot claim that we are in Texas because we are actually in California. But I am so happy that I have imprinted so much Texas in the Sound Legacy studio that
Did I just say we were in Texas?
Yes.
I thought I meant to say coming from Texas.
Yeah.
Who knows what I'm saying? But
See?
yeah, thank you for coming
Oh, no, I'm
from
teasing.
Texas
I'm
to be
teasing.
here.
No,
I
thank
did
you
wear
for-
boots for you today.
I know.
I did my best.
Hey, I clocked that as soon as I walked in.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for taking such great care and interest in people.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Produced by Sound Legacy, San Rafael, California.